Hi, I'm Cliff Mountner, and welcome to part 2 of A Day with Me. If you haven't checked out the first class, part 1, it's really important, a good predecessor to this class, because I'm going to take you through how I prep my gear. I'm going to talk about from the specific batteries that I use, the reflectors, the different lenses. I'm going to show you how each piece of gear is utilized throughout the wedding day. In this class, part 2, this is real time. I'm going to take you through a ceremony, a cocktail hour, where we had an impromptu speech breakout. In the ceremony, for example, we had unbelievably low light. It was so low, I had to shoot at ISOs of 10,000, 12,800, had to really utilize my fast glass. After that, we're going to take you through the reception, the first dance, the toast, the reactions, all of the different dances on the dance floor, how I use off-camera flash, how I use a little flash on camera, the way I react, the different lenses for this crowded dance floor. I'd like you to keep something in mind. This is live. This is real time. I was followed by these wonderful people from Kelby that did not disturb, this is important, no interruption of the wedding day. It was very unobtrusive, so I don't want you to think that this was all about me and me photographing the wedding. They were in the background and they just documented how I approached the day. I'm going to take you through my thought process of how I approached and shot this entire day. But this is unfiltered. This is, again, uncensored. I'm trying, for an educational purpose, to think out loud. I'm going to take you through everything that I'm thinking with regard to what my camera settings need to be. Should I use a flash? Should I not use a flash? How should I use that flash? Are my exposures under, over? And I'm going to, give you a peek inside what goes. I know it's a scary place. Inside what goes on in my head when I'm shooting this wedding day. Here's what I'd like you to take away from this class. It's not just about the ABCs, the nuts and bolts of photography. It's not about f-stops, shutter speeds, ISOs. This is a mental process as well. This is about 900 weddings of experience that I'm taking with me and applying it to a day that, quite frankly, is not ideal. There's some adverse lighting conditions and other things that I have to overcome. So at this point, let's get back to Katie and Dan as their ceremony is about to begin. All right, the ceremony is going to begin any minute. The only question I have right now is, am I going to use a flash or not? I'm going to probably wind up wearing 3 bodies. It's going to kill my neck, but I don't really have a choice. I'm going to make a game time decision. I'm going to see what it looks like as they're walking down the aisle. I might be able to get a feel for when everyone's sitting down, do a couple test exposures down the aisle, but I cannot afford to miss it. Number 1 rule, get the picture. I'm going to say that 50 million times. So if I have to use a speed light, I will. I would prefer not to, but I'm probably going to have to. Ceremony is going to begin in just a couple minutes. Right now, the debate in my mind is whether or not I'm going to need a speed light for this processional. I hate using a speed light for these types of things, but the number 1 rule is get the picture. Number 2 rule is get a better picture. I just can't tell right now whether or not I'm going to need one. I'm trying to play around with ISOs. I might shoot it at 12,800 on one camera, and maybe I'll use a speed light on the other. I just haven't decided yet. There is a complete dead spot right in the aisle where there's just no light. So I'm going to have to wait for them to move past that before I can shoot. I might also have a little silhouette as those doors open. I'll probably grab a few like that. It's dark. A little bit of flash, a little bit of available, cover my butt. I'm staying low so he can see her. One of the questions I'm asked frequently from my workshop students is how I approach the processional on a wedding day. This answer is multifaceted, actually, because there's exposure values, there's focusing issues, and what I might start with is choosing the lens that I'm going to shoot with and taking a couple of meaningless test frames down the aisle to nail my exposure. I might just take a couple pictures of some of the guests sitting there. They might look at me funny as if, why are you taking this picture? But they have a meaning. I'm nailing my exposure. From a focus standpoint, which is critical, of course, for sharp images, this is the difficult part sometimes. There are different methodologies. Some people like to use continuous in terms of focus. I'm a single servo and recompose photographer. I like to take my center area focus point, recompose very quickly. I'm shooting at, say, f4, f4.5 with a speed light. Otherwise, I'm shooting at about f2.8. And then I'm going to put the focus point directly on someone's face, focusing and firing, focusing and firing. Another aspect of the mindset here is, what am I going to do when they first begin walking down the aisle? Sometimes when a church door, or in this case, the chapel door, is opened, it may give me an opportunity to get a silhouette of that couple or the bride and her father walking down the aisle, because the background is going to be very, very bright. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this situation, I've executed the silhouette, but from an expression standpoint, it doesn't work at all. In this particular image, as I'm shooting down the aisle with my 85, well, it was a nice accident. As all these iPhones and point and shoots are going off, which happens at just about every wedding today, every once in a while, I get a little beautiful off-camera light from these iPhones, and it hits the subject perfectly. In today's world, we've got to deal with iPhones, iPads, point and shoots. You got people leaning into the aisles on both directions. It's distracting. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do about it, but sometimes, not in this situation, sometimes the bride and groom give us a little bit of a break by putting up a sign asking to have an unplugged wedding. Well, I love when they do that. It didn't happen in this situation. It may or may not be something you want to discuss with your couple. So let's get back to some of the technical of the processional, which is the focus. Different people have different methodologies for focusing. Again, they can use tracking, they can use continuous, they can use single. There's a lot of different methodologies. My particular method, and if you've ever heard me speak or talk or taken a workshop, I always talk about my method, not the right method. It's really important for me to say that because I don't want you to think that my way is the best way. It's just my way. So I'll take single servo and I'll focus it, say, on a collar, maybe where the collar meets the skin of someone's neck. Maybe the bride's face, maybe I'm able to pick that up. But it's so important to be quick. When you lock focus, you better snap that shutter, because if they're moving towards you and you focus and wait and they move closer, they're closer to the plane, you're going to be out of focus. So find a focus methodology that works for you, practice it, and implement it.
Their love has become evident as they have grown in relationships. They will declare that love in community. You are the holders of the promises they will make. You have seen glimpses of the journey that has brought them to this hour, and you will be their support in the days and years that unfold before them. Watch carefully. Take into your own hearts the love that emanates from there. Observe and remember, so that you can remind them in the future of the bond that seals them today. You may be seated.
Gonna go get an angle from the other side. Gotta shoot it overall.
Gathered in this cloud of family and friends, we call to mind those who have departed this life, and yet are very present with us this evening. Barbara Schmidt Cambria, Mr. Anthony Cambria, Mr. Robert Schmidt, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Kapp, Mr. Salvatore Puglisi, Ms. Jackson.
With the exception of certain venues that have restrictions, such as a church where I can't really move about, I can't get behind an altar, obviously. You have to learn some of the rules of where you're working before you start moving about. What I try to do is I try to get as many vantage points of the ceremony as possible. In these images that you'll see, we tried to get an overall, for example, kind of a scene setter. It's a photojournalistic compulsory element to get an overall photograph of the entire venue. Then I'm obviously going to go tighter. So really it's wide, tight, medium focal length, and try to capture the compulsory elements, of course, but then try to get a different angle. It's really important, if you can, to stay as unobtrusive as possible. And depending upon the space itself where the ceremony is taking place, sometimes you can be, sometimes you can't be. Here you'll see me actually walking outside the church, wrapping around the building, coming back through a side door, so I didn't have to walk in front of the parents of the bride and groom. I have a background in photojournalism. I shot 6,000 assignments with the Philadelphia Inquirer. This, you'll hear me talk about this maybe a few times during these classes. Anticipation and reaction. It's sort of a symbiosis between the two, if you will. I know what's going to happen at ceremonies for the most part, but there's sometimes I don't. So what I can't anticipate for, I have to react to. So these are very important things in terms of the mental game of wedding photography.
Today, when persimmons ripen. Today, when fox kids come out of their den to snow. Today, when the spotted egg releases its grand song. Today, when the maple sets down its red leaves. Today, when windows keep their promise to open. Today, when fire keeps its promise to warm. Today, when someone you love has died, or someone you never met has died. Today, when someone you love has been born, or someone you will not meet has been born. Today, when rain leaps to the waiting of roots in their dryness. Today, when starlight bends to the roofs of the hungry and tired. Let the vow of this day keep itself wildly and wholly spoken and silent, surprise you inside your ears, sleeping and waking, unfold itself inside your eyes.
With you is even more fun than going to San Sebastian, Irun, Ande, Biarritz, Bayonne, Princeton, Brooklyn Heights, Big Sur, Philly, or being sick to my stomach on the Traversera de Gracia in Barcelona, partly because in your orange shirt, you look like better.
During different types of ceremonies, at any given point throughout these ceremonies, someone's going to get up and give a little speech or read from the Bible or proverb or share something sentimental with the bride and groom. It's important to get these photographs. Sometimes, of course, it's not the Mona Lisa. You're just trying to, again, get the picture. And then, if you can, get a better picture. That better picture might include stepping back and including that speaker in the foreground and getting our subject, our bride and groom, in the background. So if I can work that situation to get a couple of different vantage points, great. If not, in a church, for example, when that person is doing a reading up on an altar, obviously I'm not getting up on the altar to get the bride and groom in the background. So we take as many pictures as we can of this situation without being obtrusive.
I'm going to ask the two of you to turn around and face the assembly for just a moment. I want them to really see you. Around, turn around, they're friendly. And I want to invite all of you to look carefully. Take a snapshot in your mind, in your heart, of this moment. No cameras for just a moment. No flashes, but that guy's an exception. But the rest of you, put down your phone, put down your tablets.
While the prominent subject matter might be most obvious, which is our bride and groom and the ceremony itself, we have to keep in mind that there is a periphery that needs to be captured. There are people emoting around us. Grandparents, parents. If I can capture an expression now and then of the parents reacting to what's taking place at the ceremony, it's important to do so. Sometimes siblings are very close, and here you'll see I'm capturing the sibling looking on, and while she's not incredibly emotional during this period of time, she is giving me at least a wonderful expression. So keep an open mind and keep sort of your peripheral vision in the on position so that you can see and capture these things that unfold before you.
We complement one another. Not only are you the Muppet to my robot, but more importantly, you make me a better person. You make me laugh and smile more than anyone I've ever met on a regular basis. And I'd be a fool to pass up the opportunity to have you by my side for the rest of my life.
Dan, you make my normal, everyday life more wonderful and fantastic than I could ever imagine. On my darkest days, you always make me laugh, you always make me smile. And we aren't the same person. You challenge me, you inspire me, you balance me. You're my perfect partner and complement.
Eternal God, may these bands of metal, forged by human hands and imbued with celestial hopes, always remind this couple of their link with each other. Encircled by your love that has no beginning and no end, may their love flourish and sustain them through life's challenges and life's joys.
Another important element, of course, during a ceremony is the vows. Again, different religions, different ceremonies, they all have different ways of doing vows. In this wedding, it was customary. Bride and groom are facing one another, saying their vows to one another. They're stationary, but as you can see, it's very, very, very dark. I'm shooting at, say, ISO 10,000 or so, and because I'm shooting a Nikon D4S, I'm capable of doing this. But focus is critical. I may have to focus on where the skin meets the collar, or if I can, sometimes I can focus on an eye. They're profiled. So if you try to take your focus point and stick it right over here or stick it over here, it's going to be a little bit easier than sticking it on their face because the lens is going to rack. It's not going to lock on because these lenses need contrast to focus. So find an area of contrast, focus, don't recompose, press the shutter, and you got it sharp.
And Jermaine Katie, I give you this ring as a sign of my love and faithfulness.
Katie, I give you this ring as a sign of my love and faithfulness.
Dan, I give you this ring as a sign of my love and faith.
And with rings exchanged.
One of the things that's a little disconcerting to me these days is the mentality of shoot first, post-process later. Yes, Lightroom and all these post-production tools are wonderful, but it is so important to get things right in camera, whether it be white balance, but most importantly, exposure. It is much better to be dead on or even slightly over at, say, 12,800 than it is to be under at ISO 8000. Noise is the enemy in those situations, especially in the shadow areas. I don't want to have to bring that slider up too far because then the noise is going to be too prominent. As you can see in this image, I'm pretty darn close to dead solid perfect. Maybe the slight tweak was given by the person who processes my images. So get these exposures right in camera. Not only is there going to be less to do later, but it's also going to look a hell of a lot better.
I'd like to present to you for the first time as husband and wife, Dan Puglisi and Katie Campbell.
I've been trying to do it right. Don't be blind. I've been sleeping in my bed. Sleeping in my bed. So show me family. That I would plead. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong. But I can write a song. I belong with you. You belong with me in my sweetheart. I belong with you. You belong with me in my sweetheart. I don't think you're right for him. But I you took a bus to Chinatown. I've been standing on Canal and Bowery. Should be standing next to me. I belong with you. You belong with me in my sweetheart. I belong with you. You belong with me in my sweetheart. Love, we need it now. Let's hope for some. So we're bleeding now. I belong with you. You belong with me in my sweetheart. I belong with you. You belong with me.
you're probably going to get tired of hearing the words anticipation and reaction. And yes, it is a recurring theme in these classes. But in this situation, I had completely forgotten that the groom was going to sing a song to his bride during the ceremony. I spoke to him a couple weeks before, but being the ADD knucklehead that I am, I forgot. Until I heard the first strum of the, like my air guitar, the first strum of the guitar, okay, I forgot about it. I turned, and because I don't have to think, I don't have to worry about the technical elements of my camera. I knew where I needed to be. As soon as they came towards me, all I had to do was compose. I hope you can get to that point, but as you're watching this video, notice that I'm not looking at the camera and thinking about the f-stops and shutter speeds. All I'm doing is focusing and composing. The recurring theme, reaction. This is an integral part of either getting the shot or not getting the shot. What you're about to see is post-ceremony. They're going to be recessing, they're going to be coming out of the chapel, the barn, or whatever it might be. And I had to think about the fact that it's dark outside. When we started the ceremony, it was daylight, sort of. It was what we call available darkness. But I still had to be ready. And what you're going to see is a seamless transition from inside the chapel to outside the chapel in the dark conditions. And if I didn't get prepared mentally to do what I'm about to do, then I would have missed this wonderful, little intimate, subtle moment between the bride and groom, and I'm shooting it with a longer lens. They have this wonderful little chemistry together with the bridal attendant sort of assisting the bride, but they are in their own little world. I've isolated them. Why? I anticipated and reacted to what I needed to do. Oh, the D4s. Thank you.
Are you surprised?
Got it?
Yeah. I'm like, oh my god. When did you guys practice? When did you practice?
Getting away with it. Stunning. I have to admit that I've seen a lot of ceremonies. That was pretty emotional. That was pretty cool that he started to sing to her.
Incredible. That was unreal. Good shot. Look, you totally, do you see the shock on my face?
What's that?
Do you see the shock?
I got it all. I got it all. I have to admit that was pretty moved. That was pretty slick, dude.
Pull it flat to the head.
Where do you want me?
Over the head. And then you're pulling up and towards the crown of her head.
Here, you don't need your hand right now.
Yeah, you don't need your hands. This could take a while.
Here, we did it. Prepare for like, sorry to eat you wedding presents too. But I
think you were upstaged.
I was totally upstaged.
I mean, I had to compete with this.
Right, that's true, that's true.
Oh my gosh,
I'm going to switch to manual.
I don't know how you pulled it off because I really can catch you in this ride. That one you think. And it was just like the most amazing moment, like ever.
That one is separate. So I was like,
Yeah, okay,
you're my other.
I was weird. Am I down now?
No.
You were strong.
Here we go. A little bit to the right, and I eliminate those lights.
parents didn't even know. Did
My
your mom know?
mom knew like last night because she was like asking a lot of questions about like what we were like doing and. There we. Is Bill come back?
There we go. It's kind of neat with him just watching everything.
This one has more to it.
Oh, we're at 50 solo. What'd you get? Nailed it! We did
Here
it!
goes a little
Yes,
bit of time.
okay.
Turn around, look at it.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's totally right. Can you
Oh,
pull me
fun.
up a little bit?
Yeah. Ready? Okay, breathe in.
You want me to put the brooch
Now,
on?
breathe out.
Where does the brooch sit, Gene?
It sits like on. Right here.
Like that?
Main, agave,
Mint.
and lime.
Yeah,
Like,
mint
real
lime.
thick.
It is really good.
Yeah, isn't it?
Am I smudgy at all, or am I okay?
Get some
Get some over there.
I just need to figure this out. And then my dude will be almost finished.
I don't remember it lying exactly horizontal. It kind of,
No, it's supposed to be, I thought it was, well, it doesn't matter, whatever.
it definitely laid vertical.
Honey.
No,
Oh,
it's
should I try
vertical.
to?
I think we did it with your organizer, I think.
Okay.
Blonde girl.
I'll go with it.
That's awesome.
Did you see it?
I'm on a crab cake.
On it,
Oh,
on another.
So good, so good.
This is fun. You get to go down there soon. I
know.
have this powder here. Eat some more food.
I'll see you guys down there.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Cliff.
You're very welcome. The moments that unfold after a ceremony, whether it be in a Jewish wedding, the Yechud portion of the day, or any wedding really, there's going to be wonderful moments to capture after a ceremony because, again, the emotions are just so high. Here, what I've done is I've kept my distance between myself and my subject, almost being a photographic voyeur, choosing the right lenses. I'm away from them, shooting with an 85. I'm not choosing a 24 or a 24 to 70. I'm not on top of the couple. Why? Because I don't want to make my presence felt. These are very private moments, and it's very important for me to keep my distance so that the authenticity of these moments, the authenticity stays intact. Of a wedding day, you're going to need to assess the situation, the scene that you're going to be in order to, well, figure out the size of the space you're going to be working in, choose the right tool for the right application. In this situation, I chose a Nikkor 24 to 120 f4G lens. This gave me some range. This allowed me to use one lens, get fairly wide, get fairly long, and accompany that with some off-camera light, and you'll be able to see what I'm using. I'm using a Rogue flash bender on my speed light to control the direction of that light. I want that light going in one direction, forward, towards my subject. I don't want any light spilling behind that light. I want to control that direction for the texture, dimension, and mood. And what you'll also see is where I'm positioning myself and positioning the light in order to give that subject the texture that you'll see.
Then son-in-law to be, but not known to be son-in-law to be, asking me if I would meet him for lunch in the city. Now, as many times as I have seen Dan and gotten to know and love him, we're not in the habit of lunching all that often. And trying to be there for every on it. And the more that the months have gone by up to this point, I have thought that there was something else embedded in caring for her and comforting her, protecting her, and tucking her in at night the way her mom secured it. And from that point forward, with each and every minute of it, it's just been wonderful. And she was named Catherine Patricia, after my mom. Welcome to the wedding of Katie and Dan, and let's have a party!
While it's crucial to use off-camera flash for as many elements of the day as possible, I'm not a big fan of on-camera flash. Sometimes, even with off-camera flash, you still need to control the direction of the light in a better way than maybe implemented at the time. For example, here's what I mean. In this image, even though the flash is off the camera, you'll see that there's too much light spilling on the walls behind the subject. I was uncomfortable with this. I didn't like the way that looked. So in a very unobtrusive motion to my assistant, I was able to direct him to turn the flash bender, the modifier on the speed light. As you can see with this follow-up image, this image that I shot after I asked my assistant to feather the light and point it away from the background, I've added so much more depth, so much more drama to this image. The background is not lit. That was distracting. This is a much, much better photograph. 14 and 24 on right now. This is giving me a nice range here. Looking good. It's a little purple, but we'll fix that. LED lights are really difficult. Just gonna wait for her to get out of the way. 7:30, they should be coming in any minute. Okay, we got the room now. No, we don't. She's still in there. That should be all right. Let's see. I'm at a 40th at 2.8. It's plenty of depth of field. I'm really far from my subject. This will look just fine. Focusing on the chandelier there, focusing in the foreground for a few, varying things a little bit. This is one of the most frustrating parts of the night when I'm trying to do room shots and they're trying to do their job. That's real important. If I can just get one or two that way, and then I'm going to shoot individual vignetted shots of just.
Over on that, get on the other side. Correct.
I'm real wide. This is what I'm getting here, so I can go really wide.
Rachel.
Just for 1 minute, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to do some individual vignetted kind of things. I'm going to take a macro. I'm going to shoot these little menus here. Okay. Put this here. Now I'm going to crank up this ISO. I know. Got my 8514. Shoot kind of details of individual tables with real shallow depth of field behind it. Of course, easier said than done when there's too many freaking people in the room. Everybody's got a job to do though. Good. I like to get long throws where I have something in the foreground, like a server, and nothingness in the background except uplight. Let's try another direction here. Okay, let's go a little tighter maybe. Here we go. Maybe shoot right down the row here. Yeah. And maybe nice down the line shot here, focusing on one rose petal. Cool. Maybe a little shot with the very first rose, and the focus just falls off. I'm trying to look for any specific details that might be very personal to them. Maybe I'll just take this and place it up against the flowers. See if we can get these. It would help if it was right side up, huh? I'm a detailed genius. My wife would be proud. All right. That looks good. A little more depth of field. Shooting it at 2.8 because 1.4 I won't be able to see all of the writing. Good. I'll be sharing all of these with the venue. I'll be sharing all of these with the decorator so that they can have images. And no, I won't be charging for them because it's all about relationships. All right, for the rest of the evening, it is really just anticipate and react. I'm going to try to light it the best of my abilities. I'm really not going to be staging anything whatsoever here. We have guests coming in right now. You're not going to be able to hear, even if I try to talk, we're really not going to hear much. The band is quite loud. They're actually pretty darn good. They're from New York. Not that that means anything, but just observe. I mean, we're going to try to light this well. I'm going to shoot the introductions with my 24-70 on one D4S. And then for the first dance, I'm probably going to go with the 24-120 with some off-camera light. You'll notice that I'll have two bodies on me. I'll have one 24-70 with the speed light on the camera. I'll also have the 24-120 with the off-camera light. I'll very, very, very seldom, if ever, use the 24-70 with the flash on camera for anything having to do with the first dance, blessings, toasts, any of that stuff. I'll have the body on me, mainly for when someone comes up and hugs the bride or hugs the groom. I got to be ready with something to get that shot. Can't miss the shot. Remember, the number one rule: get the picture.
Let your soul fly into the and when that falling horn blows, I will be coming home. When that falling horn blows, I want to hear it. I don't have to fear it, 'cause I wanna rock your ship and sail. Shoots like way back in the days of old.
You didn't have to wake up. He'd been up all night, lying there in bed and listening to his newborn baby cry. Drinks a pot of coffee, splashes water on his face. Wife gives him a kiss and says it's gonna be okay. It won't be like this for long. One day soon we'll look back laughing at the week we brought her home. This face is gonna fly by, trying to be strong. It won't be like this for long.
Pictures you desire. Oh, yes, sweet darling. So glad you are a child of mine. Child of mine, child of mine. Oh, yes, sweet darling. So glad you are a child of mine. You don't need direction to know which way to go. I don't want to hold you back. I just want to watch you grow. You're the one who taught me you don't have to look behind.
The first dance, obviously, a very important element of the day. Sometimes couples have a very choreographed dance, which tends to be elaborate. Sometimes they're really difficult to shoot. And even sometimes, the groom's looking at his feet instead of the bride. Other times, it's a little bit easier to shoot where they're kind of dancing and hugging each other in place. Those are the ones I love because it's like shooting ducks in a barrel. It's very simple. This particular dance was sort of in between. There was some hugging going on, some rocking back and forth, but then there was also some movement. So this can be a challenge. What's the challenge? Focusing. So it was dark in this room, and one of the tips I'll give you with respect to focusing, and I've probably said this a few times in some of my educational material, contrast. Lenses need contrast to focus. So in a dark room, I'm always going to get a little bit of contrast where the groom's white collar is going to meet his neck, okay? Or sometimes I'm able to capture the bride where the face meets the hair. I'm shooting at f4. I'm not really going to be shooting this at 2.8. I'm not using available light. I'm using a speed light, so it's easier for me to use a little deeper depth of field. So when using the off-camera light, shooting at f4, focusing upon that one little piece of contrast, okay, I'm able to capture my first dance. I'm shooting at, say, a 40th of a second, flash is freezing the action. These are some of the tips and my methodology for shooting this first dance. During a first dance, sometimes, if it's a decent length of time that the first dance is unfolding, if it's 60 seconds and there's no other time to capture other surrounding elements, I'm able to, with my peripheral vision, look for certain elements. Look for the parents emoting. Look for a brother or sister emoting. So what I've done here, I was able to, with my on-camera flash, because I'm wearing two cameras, okay? I've got a 70-200 with one camera, a 24-70 with my other camera, and I've got a flash on that body. My cardinal rule basically is against the use of on-camera flash. I don't love it. It flattens out the dimension. But here, again, the number one rule, get the picture. I saw people emoting. I grabbed that photograph, and then shortly after, I was able to direct my assistant to position the light in a certain way where I was able to get it with more texture. There comes a point in the evening where everyone's on the dance floor, there's a slow song playing, couples are coupled up, for lack of better terms, and they're dancing with one another. This is a compulsory element of reception coverage. I do my best to very quickly go around, I'll reach out, I'll request the people that I'm shooting to look at the camera. I might choose a 24-70. I might even choose a 16-35 if the dance floor is too crowded. I'm maneuvering my way in and out through those people so that, well, what am I doing? I'm trying to make sure that I've got expansive coverage. I want to complete the coverage by giving these people a documentation of who's at their event. The more people I can capture, the happier the bride and groom are going to be.
Nobody's gonna kill your or tell people, make it hard for a while. You'll change their heads. Times you were born in may not have been the best. You can make times to learn, child of mine. Oh, yes, it does. Oh, you know. That's a nice gonna be. Give me everything tonight. Hey, everything tonight. I wanna love you tonight. Let's do this one more time.
The toasts. This is something that just about every one of the 900 or so weddings I've shot, this happens at almost every single one of them. You have the best man, maid of honor, whoever it might be, father of the bride, the most important people in the world to this couple is saying some nice things, maybe roasting the groom, but you're going to get some type of action from these people and a wonderful reaction from the couple. Here's how I approach this.
We're here tonight to toast a wonderful couple and to roast a wonderful woman and an amazing friend and sister. Looking around the room, we are very pleased to see that Katie's biggest worry about today, and I quote, "What if people wear ugly things to my wedding?" has not come true. You people look fabulous.
A roast is our birthright. As the two younger sisters of a woman who set utterly impossible standards to live up to, summa cum laude at Princeton, award-winning thesis of distinction on radical feminist sculpture, published poet, NYU MBA full scholarship winner. The list simply goes on and on and on. We feel we are personally owed the right to lightly roast the bride and subject her to some sisterly love.
So like we said, while Katie is the golden child of the Cambria family when it comes to academics and actually important accomplishments, you may not know the following.
Katie is often the Cambria sister with the highest ratio of white wine to blood content. White wine Cambrian. Katie is also most likely to be pilloried in family emails for inexplicable credit card charges on the emergency credit card.
When her white wine levels reach into the danger zone, Katie has been known to speak in gibberish, sometimes even actually believing that she is Jean Valjean from Victor Hugo's seminal classic, Les Miserables.
In all seriousness, however, the roast is over. You can rest easy. We are here to celebrate the wonder that is Katie and the amazing relationship that she and Dan have. To some, Katie might seem like a walking contradiction. She is a brilliant scholar teetering down the avenue on 5-inch high heels.
Katie and Dan use ridiculous nicknames for each other from Wayne's World. They love indie alt rock and moonlight as fantasy football fanatics. They share an all-consuming, sometimes forbidden love of pizza.
Let's party. Cheers. Cheers.
Another round of applause for our sisters of the bride.
As you just saw, I focused my attention upon the people toasting first. I wanted to make sure and get the safe shot, establish the fact that there were people indeed toasting this couple. Once I was rest assured that I got solid photos, definitely got pictures of these people doing this toast, I then focused my attention on the reactions. I'm listening to the toast, I'm anticipating the reaction of this couple. When they emoted in any way, shape, or form, I was there to capture it. Now, this is a very important element from a gear standpoint. I'm using a 70-200. I'm as far from these people as I can be while still having the frame that I really desire. I'm controlling the ambient light with my shutter speed. The faster the shutter speed, the darker the background's going to be. As I slowed the shutter speed up, the more ambient light I allow into the frame. So I have to really get a comfortable place with that shutter speed. And then controlling the output of that speed light from my camera, I happen to use an AC3 Pocket Wizards today. I don't know what I'll be using in the future, but right now I'm still using an AC3 with Pocket Wizards, and I'm controlling that output. I'm having my assistant stay in the same spot with the light, and then adjusting the output as I go from the toaster to the bride and groom, and it's kind of like a dance. I'm dancing with both of them, adjusting the output with both of them. When I need to, adjusting the shutter speed with both of those scenarios. So I hope that was a good little tidbit for you.
All right, from the top. Good evening. We are the best men. Better men? Better men. Better men. Don't worry, we're not going to be doing that all night. It's going to take a long time if we tried.
It's an honor to stand here with my brothers and raise a glass to Dan and Katie.
Katie, the three of us standing here, this is going to represent the close-knit family that you've become part of.
It also shows how indecisive Dan is, so good luck with that.
Even though I'm the oldest, I think that we've all felt at times, as Dan's brothers, that we've been living in his shadow. He's brilliant, he's a hard worker, he has great character, and he sets a hard act to follow or even to be in front of.
Dan, thanks for always being there for us, for me specifically, through high school, starting out as a freshman, having you as a senior, then going back to Chicago, coming out from med school and having you there. It's been great, but it's also been a challenge, having you be there for academics, athletics, and good character for us to, look up to, especially me.
Honestly, growing up with such an age difference, it's tough to find a lot of great memories with Dan. I just remember him I remember a lot of jeans that were cut into shorts. I remember him
a lot.
To Dan.
To Katie.
Cheers.
Salute.
Australia.
Congratulations.
Congrats, guys. Don't do the show.
Well, we've come to the end of the night. I hope Katie and Dan had a great experience. That's the main thing. The photography has to revolve around the day. The day does not revolve around the photography. Sure, there's moments that I apply some of my vision with regard to particular photographs. I might help the stage that the scene is set, let the moments happen as they will, and there might even be a time where I'll pose an image. However, for the most part, it's fairly free-flowing. I'm happy with what we did today. We could have had a miserable day. It was raining. We didn't have any light. This couple was wonderful to work with. I really believe they're going to love these images. I'm happy with them, and I'm a pretty tough critic. At the beginning of the day, we had some nice light in that room. It's a lovely place to shoot. But I really hope that you saw the progression, the anticipation, and the reaction that I have to moments in particular. I hope that you got a good glimpse into how I allow the gear to be a completely instinctive extension of my mind's eye in my hands. I don't fumble. I don't think about the settings. I'm moving very quickly. If I blow out an image, the next image is going to be nailed. If you have to think about your settings and your focus and f-stop, shutter speeds, ISO, work a little harder. You have a little more work to do. Get it instinctive. A couple little things. I do workshops out of my studio outside the Philadelphia area. cmphotography.com. There's a photographer section for the workshops. @CliffMountainer is my Twitter handle. And you're really going to hopefully get something out of this class. It was really enjoyable for me to do. I was very conscious of being able to talk through my mindset. So enjoy. I hope you watch. Thank you so much. So the first thing I do when I walk in, like I said, I have 2 cameras on me, but I'm almost going to round my shoulders and just make myself small. I'd like to be as unobtrusive as humanly possible. And I'm going to be observing from the second I walk through that door. anticipating, reacting. There might be some moments unfolding in front of me immediately. Maybe the bride is speaking to her grandmother. Maybe there's some moments in the corner with the bridesmaids and they're laughing and they're having a good time. So many different things can unfold as soon as I walk through that door. It's really important to establish your presence as someone who's going to be pleasant and someone who's going to be, well, there for support, if you will, as an experienced professional. There are times that you need to be larger than life, maybe to pull something out of your client, some energy or an expression. But for me, I'm a photojournalist at heart. You can take me out of photojournalism, but you can't take the photojournalism out of me. I would rather remain small, remain unobtrusive, remain quiet, and anticipate and react to the moments around me to capture the true essence of these clients. I'm a believer in waiting for the moment. I'm not a believer in making the moment. When I was a journalist, I didn't think the story was about me. The story was about them, and it's my job to document. Maybe for the portrait session, maybe that interaction and that personality can come forth, and during the family pictures, you'll see that I've been a little bit animated and trying to get a little reaction out of the father or the bride or groom or whoever it might be. But for the most part, I try to stay small. There is definitely a difference between the way I interact with a bride and the way I interact with a groom at the beginning of the wedding day especially. With the bride, again, my main goal is to continue a rapport that we originally had before she even hired me. And then that trust continues where my attempt at being somewhat soft-spoken, even though if you know me personally, you know that I'm not soft-spoken. I'm rather outrageous and sometimes obnoxious even, some will say. But I really try to tone that down, and I want that bride's essence to be captured, not by me trying to pull it out of her, but by her just handing it to me because I've been soft and gentle. The groom is another story. Sometimes I go in and 8 out of 10 times, the guys are in a room, they're watching a ball game, drinking a beer. If I go in there and I'm just soft and demure and just very, very quiet, I might not be able to get what I really need, which is a little bit of the groom's interaction with his best man, his groomsman. So there is definitely a difference between the interaction I have with brides and grooms at the beginning of the day especially. One question I was asked by a bride a few years ago was, Cliff, you shoot so many weddings a year. I shoot like 50 weddings a year. She was like, how do you stay motivated? Well, the answer is not as difficult as you think. I truly wake up in the morning and I say, today I'm going to make a picture. Now, when you say a picture, I'm taking thousands of pictures. I'm talking about capturing a moment that is so beautiful, it makes the hair stand up on my arms. It gives me goosebumps. It makes my heart warm. It reminds me why I do what I do. And whether it's the reception or the prep or the ceremony or just a quiet moment between a couple or a quiet moment between the grandmother and the bride, these individual moments that I'm able to capture, that's what keeps me motivated. Now, if I can capture a beautiful moment in beautiful light, I've made a beautiful picture. That is what keeps me motivated. You might not have the fortunate experience, or some will say, well, just longevity, of shooting 900 weddings or so. Whether it's your first, your 900th, or your 150th, you have to go into this day, number one, making the technical elements innate. I mean 100% innate. If I've got a camera in my hand, and if I have to think about anything, I've missed that moment, whatever moment it might be. So that's number one, technical elements innate. Then from the emotional standpoint, understand that a lot of times eyes are going to be on you. I've learned lessons in my career like you wouldn't believe. One of those lessons was, if you wear frustration on your face, it's going to cost you. I've done that. I have been so passionate about images that maybe I pissed people off because I was just looking to get the best pictures for those people. And maybe I could have handled things differently in the past. For the past decade or so, I think I've learned a lot of valuable lessons by screwing up. Sometimes, if you're not screwing up once in a while, you're not learning anything. So have the attitude that, number one, you're looking at it as if it's your first, and you're anticipating and reacting and you're excited. Lastly, I'll say, keep in mind that we're working for our clients. They are not working for us. That's probably the best lesson that I can give you.